So today we're going to talk about digital self-determination in the context of agriculture, and specifically in the context of the ag tech sector. We will go into the concept of digital self-determination, and I'll give you a bit of an overview of the International Network on Digital Self-Determination, which we are a part of. And then we'll go into some examples and see the applicability of and the need for DSD in agriculture. Okay, this meeting is being recorded. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Let me see if we can share the slides. Amazing. Thank you so much. So let me first introduce myself. My name is Sara Marcucci. I am a research fellow at the GovLab at New York University and a research consultant at the International Finance Corporation and the World Bank. My work focuses on data governance, tech policy, and digital rights. Previous to the GovLab, I worked at the Open Data Institute at Nest Italia, where I focused on projects related to tech policy, internet governance, and data justice. So I think we can go straight to slide number 7. So digital self-determination is a concept that was born out of, the other slide, the one right after the introduction slide with our faces. Ooh. As I mentioned, this is not a good day for us and technology.
I'm so sorry. I'm trying to find the slideshow. Where did it go?
No worries at all. I think I'm just gonna go. Oh, there we are.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's totally fine. I mean, again, this is a cursed day, apparently. So digital self-determination is a concept, a principle, and a practice that was born out of the network, the International Network on Digital Self-Determination, which aims to move from principles to practices and develop and implement actions to empower data subjects around the world. You can see here the different international partners that are part of the network. And next slide, please. So the network operates across 3 main actions. The first one is thought leadership, which basically consists of conceptualizing and deepening the notion of DSD and kind of develop a framework for self-determination that is sort of as practical as possible. Second, we have action research and prototyping, which is all about operationalizing DSD via different pathways to practice such as use cases. You can find on our website different use cases that we've been working on, including DSD and disability in India, DSD in education, DSD in open finance, among others. And finally, we have the strategic communication and advocacy sort of action, which is all about facilitating dialogue with diverse stakeholders and sort of advocating for DSD across the globe. Next slide, please. So the overall idea of behind digital self-determination is the need for a more human-centric approach to data governance discussions, where citizen and community empowerment in a digital space is the basis. So you can see there's 3 main elements. First, the digital, which implies that existing rights and existing rules also apply in the digital sphere. So they should be, taken from the physical sphere and brought into the digital one. The second element is the self. So the idea to empower data subjects in their digital footprints and having them become, going from passive users to active citizens and economic actors. So to kind of allow them to participate in the digital world. It's important to note that self in the DSD sort of conceptualization refers to both individuals, but also communities. Every community, is different from the other. So DSD is kind of designed to be a very flexible concept that can be tailored to different communities and different concepts. An idea of a community can be, you're part of a football team, that's a community. You go to a school, that's a different community. So you can be part of different communities. And that's, both something that enriches DSD as a concept, and it also is for sure a sort of a challenge that kind of requires flexible governance structures to kind of acknowledge and tackle the differences within those communities. Finally, we have the determination element, which is about making an informed decision and sort of being given the opportunity to choose in the digital era, such as the ability to access and control the data that you're sharing. The idea is that data constituencies and data subjects, so people, that kind of people like you and I, basically, we shouldn't have to choose between maintaining control over our data and kind of enjoying the advantages of data sharing. Instead, they should both be possible. And so that's kind of the idea behind digital self-determination. Next slide, please. So, but why do we need digital self-determination? Like, why are we bothering with all of this? In short, the current datafied society brings about a series of challenges. All of these are stemming from, we believe, one main overarching challenge, which is the data and agency asymmetry. First, for data asymmetry, we mean the disparities in what data is being collected, who is collecting it, and how it is being gathered. Often, we've seen large corporations and institutions having the resources and technologies to collect vast amounts of data from individuals and communities. And this data is collected through, various means, often without knowledge, without awareness from the people that this is collected from, without transparent communication, and without any sort of adequate consent process from those being ultimately surveilled. And this imbalance raises significant concerns about privacy control, but also the potential misuse of the information gathered. Now, moving to the agency asymmetry, this addresses the question, who determines the conditions for data use and reuse? Typically, the power to make these decisions rests within the data collectors, such as corporations, government agencies, and other powerful entities that have the power to really steward that data. This creates a scenario where those most affected by data usage have the least say in how it's utilized, leading to decisions that may not reflect the best interest or values of the people that actually generate that data. But now let's apply all of this to the ag tech sector. Next slide, please. Thank you. So information and communication technologies in agriculture promise enhanced efficiency, better yield predictions, and optimized resource management. Yet this digital promise also harbors a risk, namely the exacerbation of existing power imbalances through the control and the use and reuse of data. To make it more concrete, imagine you're a farmer who generates vast amounts of data daily, from soil quality readings to crop yields. In 2014, the World Bank published a report that showed that an average of 190,000 data points were produced per farm per day. And by 2050, experts have predicted that each farm will produce around 4.1 million data points daily. So there's a lot of data going on in the agriculture sector. There's a lot of data being generated, a lot of data being collected, and a lot of data being shared. This data holds the potential to revolutionize farming practices But often, as I mentioned, it's controlled by third parties. And by third parties, we mean, all of the technology companies and the government, and all those actors that, have the tools and the governance structures to really make the most of that data and to have it, be existing in the first place. But the chain doesn't really get to the ultimate data subjects. So these third parties might use the data for their gain, leaving farmers with little control and minimal benefit, and sometimes even risks. This imbalance not only affects farmers' livelihoods, but it also limits their ability to make informed decisions about their lives and farming operations as a whole. This all becomes even more tricky when the farmers are rural and global majority farmers. Indeed, they can easily face a significant digital divide. They often lack access, knowledge of, and awareness about digital tools, which hinders their ability to self-determine themselves and thrive in today's datafied world. So digital self-determination helps bridge this gap, or at least it tries to, by ensuring that all farmers, regardless of their location, have the tools and knowledge they need to leverage and govern digital technologies effectively. And this is particularly important because of a series of missed opportunities and potential risks that I've already briefly mentioned. So let me go through them really quickly. But it's important to kind of reiterate, the reasons why this is all important, especially in the field of agriculture and sort of ICT for agriculture. First of all, again, benefits being enjoyed by third parties rather than farmers themselves. Secondly, there is a significant lack of cooperation due to missing trust. That's a risk, a missed opportunity kind of that can arise because farmers, may be hesitant to share their data or adopt new technologies because they don't trust the entities managing their data. And this stems from a history of, power imbalance and a lack of transparency in how the data is used, which in turn results in just not cooperating parties, Further, as per the main risks associated with an imbalanced power relation, one major risk is the surveillance and control of farming practices at the expense of farmers, often without consent or knowledge. We've seen the problems of, surveillance technologies all over newspapers in the past couple of years. So this is obviously also applicable to farming and to agriculture as a sector as a whole. So this is definitely something that needs to be taken into account and something that makes DSD ever more urgent. And then, of course, as there's a opaque decision-making processes and lack of autonomy that kind of plays a role into all of this and kind of makes ICT for agriculture more risky than anything else for farmers if not governed responsibly. Next slide, please. So the point of DSD is to give farmers agency over their data. Farmers should decide, what is done with the data, who has access with the data, what benefits can stem from the data. And the aim for DSD in this context really is to shift power back to the farmers. With control over their data, farmers could negotiate better deals, improve their production methods, but also just in general participate more fully in the agriculture value chain that they are, central to. Next slide, please. So, but how have we kind of conceptualized the implementation of DSD? Like, this is all nice and well, but how can we actually, what does that mean in practice? We have identified 4 main pillars of DSD in practice: policies, processes, products and technologies, and people and organizations. Responsible implementation of DSD can be explored through all of these sort of different elements. And based on our four-pronged framework, the concept of DSD can be operationalized through, first of all, policies expressed through, for instance, codes of conduct, social licenses that govern the digital space, best practices, manifestos, all sorts of, documents and policies that kind of guide the use of digital technologies. Second, we have processes such as data assemblies that enable principal negotiation, ensuring transparency, public deliberation, so kind of bringing people together to, discuss what exactly do we want this data to be used for, who do we want to share it with, and kind of bring the interested parties, and for first and foremost, farmers in this case, to kind of have their own sort of opinion. What do you want from all of this? Third, we have products and technologies, such as trustworthy data spaces, all of those, tools that enable data supply and data demand to be matched in a responsible way. And finally, we have people and organizations, because of course, to have all of this moving, we need people, we need institutions. And so this can be data stewards that help building a culture of data agency within a specific organization. It can be data intermediaries, which are people that are, kind of third-party people between data demand and data supply, and that kind of connect all of that. And so these are the four main things that we kind of need for DSD to be implemented in practice. But let me give you two examples of the category of products and technologies as well as policy. For the former, so for products and technologies, data spaces are defined as technical structures that connect data users and data providers, enabling the exchange and multiple uses of data. In DSD, we talk a lot about trustworthy data spaces. So not only data spaces, but trustworthy ones. They are a special category of data arrangements, since they are operated in a manner that enhances control, transparency, fairness, and kind of enables to build and maintain trust among its users. Indeed, DSD is not something that is completely unrelated to other sort of governance frameworks, such as, data ethics, participatory data governance, and all of those different definitions and governance structures that we've seen in the past couple of years, especially. DSD wants to be kind of complementary to all of that, and it doesn't want to, stand alone. And so participatory impact assessments are definitely another sort of tool that we use during DSD. But let's actually talk about the examples of all of these four elements, like what exactly do they look like in the real world? So let's start with the policies. Next slide, please. Thank you so much. First, for policies, we can take into consideration a report from the World Bank from 2021 that's called What's Cooking? Digital Transformation of the Agri-Food System. Basically, ultimately, digital technology could help lower the costs of organizing agri-food chains, increase the amount of available usable information related to the agri-food system, and ensure equitable access to this information by all stakeholders. So the report investigates how that can happen and how digital technology can accelerate the transformation of the system and of the sector as a whole. At the same time, it identifies a key role for the public sector in minimizing the risks and maximizing the public benefits associated with datafication processes. So basically, the report really puts the public sector at the forefront of creating policies that enable all of that. And policymaking, according to the report, should be targeted at availability and accessibility of digital infrastructure, enabling access to data in agriculture, strengthening knowledge and skill development of farmers, so kind of reach out to farmers and sort of educate them in terms of digital technologies, as well as building trust in digital applications. And again, really going with the engagement with communities, as well as addressing data access asymmetries. So they say, collecting data should be transparent. Individuals should have a voice in how their data is being used. And models for data sharing should work for both data users and data suppliers. So the report really gives a broad overview of what is needed in terms of policies, what should we do, and who should be responsible for what. Next slide, please. So the second case study of success is for processes is a human-centric journey toward digital empowerment of fisheries. It's a case study on the initiative of Abalabi. Abalabi is a nonprofit and social enterprise that supports data collection, skills building, and market transformations for small-scale fishers in South Africa. It is entirely designed by fishers, and it's a project with a strong community component. The tools and methods used to co-create a digital ecosystem for smallholder fishers are built through extensive participatory iterative design to create a usable solution, resulting in fishing communities being empowered with agency and ownership over data and data governance. Next slide, please. Third, we have FarmStack, which is for products and technologies, is a practical example of digital self-determination in agriculture, as it allows farmers to manage and control their data, connecting them directly with service providers. FarmStack empowers farmers by enabling them to own and manage their data assets. It gives them a platform to do that. The tool facilitates secure and trusted data exchanges between farmers and stakeholders, such as government organizations, service providers, and buyers. For instance, a farmer growing maize and rice can use FarmStack to receive recommended inputs and sort of best practices through her farmer group. The platform includes three main products: the data wallet, the data hub, and the data connector. Through the data wallet, farmers can collectively manage a host of information, such as farming practices, and share their best practices. The data wallet offers a simple user interface that can help farmer members to understand benefits of data sharing and the different ways to control their data. Every time their data is shared with anyone, farmers get notification as to with whom the data is being shared and for what purpose. If they want, they can just retract their consent and stop the sharing process at any time. The Data Hub, on the other hand, allows government organizations to run agriculture data exchange networks, enabling stakeholders to explore available data before sharing, thus sort of avoiding duplication of data. And finally, the data connector helps various service providers access farmer group information and provide tailored services through secure data pipelines. So for instance, a soil health lab can access relevant data through a secured connection and provide their tailored services to the farmers in a specific location. So all in all, FarmStack is an example of DSD, as it is a product that aims to create a system where data is an asset owned and managed by farmers, empowering them to connect with government, service providers, and just to ultimately improve their livelihoods. Next slide, please. So finally, for people and organization, we can take the example of the work done in Indonesia and West India. Indigenous and local communities there have been long stewards steward of lands and forests through traditional governance systems. They've been sort of the governors of the land that they inhabited for a very long time. But despite their critical role in conservation, these communities have often lacked formal recognition and documentation by the government of their land rights. So legal and environmental threats, such as land grabbing and dispossession, exacerbate their vulnerability. So the Cadasta Foundation, which is a US nonprofit, partnered with Watavaran, a grassroots climate justice organization, and Esri, a global market leader in geographic information system softwares, to empower these communities to manage and own their data. As part of the initiative, communities use tools like ArcGIS to document and map their land. They do that themselves. They are taught how to do that. And Cadasta and Waterwad provide training on data governance, helping communities understand and utilize their data effectively. So community members learn to collect, manage, and analyze the data, which ultimately empowers them to make informed decisions about their land and resources, but it also allows them to become visible to the government. Local governance structures are also strengthened to support data use and decision-making processes, with community outreach and engagement being central to the initiative. So as a result, thousands of households have documented their land rights, securing their livelihoods and enhancing community resilience. Communities have gained control over their data, enabling better management of natural resources and advocacy for their rights, while promoting sustainable land use and conservation practices in alignment with climate change mitigation efforts. Again, this case study exemplifies DSZ by showing how Indigenous and local communities can take control of their data to secure land rights and improve governance. Ultimately, the case demonstrates the importance of participatory data governance, which is a pillar for DSD, where communities are not just passive data subjects, but active stewards of their data, ensuring that their data serves their interests and supports their livelihoods. Next slide, please. So finally, a short call to action to join the movement. That is our network website. Feel free to go and visit. We publish them fairly regularly, different blogs, there's different initiatives that we're working on. You can join us co-designing a project with us, sharing your knowledge and your research, even funding of projects, or engage in future events and discussions. All of that is on our website, and we look forward to continuing the conversation. Thank you very much. I think we have 4 minutes for potential Q&A. If anyone has a question, please feel free to drop it in the Q&A section box. I'll give it maybe a moment. If not, I think we can drop off. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. We look forward to engaging with anyone who might be interested. And we hope that you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you so much.